And of course, it's time to do business here on Joy News Prime. I am Beverly Broom. We go straight into our stories, and Associate Professor at Andrews University, Professor Williams Wipra, has called on government to leverage on its numerous warehouses in the country to store excess food in the market to sustain downward inflationary trend. His comment follows the slowdown of inflation for the month of August 2023 of 40.1% from the 43.1% recorded in July 2023. Now, food inflation witnessed a decrease to 51.9% from the 55% the previous month. Reacting to this, Professor Williams admonished government to take proactive steps to sustain this trajectory.
As a basic need for all human beings, food is an essential element. And as I mentioned earlier on, the government has already built about 1,000 warehouses across the country. To be able to bring some form of stability, this is the time that we have to store most of the food product that we have produced. So then we release them onto the market through the Ghana Buffer
Stock Company Limited.
Stock Company. So more funds should be made available to the Ghana Buffer Stock Company to be able to purchase a lot of foodstuffs and store them. And then they release them onto the market in times that they are not available. I'm sure onions and other fruits and vegetables are going to be a challenge, especially onions, because of the conflict or the instability in Burkina Faso and Niger. Strategically, the government must take steps to be able to address this issue. If not, when it gets to the time that they are needed, especially in October, November, and December, and they are not in session, it's going to drive food inflation. So strategically, now that we have them available, we should be able to think of putting plans in place to find a way to store. The advice to also to food mothers or anyone involved in cooking, there are so many ways we can preserve onions. These are the time that probably we should be able to do that, and then be able to use them when they are not in season. So there are a lot of mechanisms that can be put in place from the macro level, what the government needs to do, and the micro level, what the individuals also need to do in our homes to be able to ensure that inflation does not get out of hand.
Now, World Trade Organization has indicated that it is looking at allowing other African countries to learn from Ghana when it comes to e-commerce. It follows the significant growth that Ghana recorded in this space. Deputy Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ambassador Jian Shanchen, who disclosed this to Joy Business at Geneva in Switzerland, says Ghana's case is interesting.
We're surprised because we know that the Ghana introduced a very business favorable policies, and you have very good young professionals in this regard. So it is good, but we would like to find out the specific rationale for the economic development of Ghana, because someone argued that without WTO, without rulemaking process and multilaterally, Ghana can still develop quickly. But why we need WTO? That's not what we are thinking about. We would like to see the WTO can make a contribution to the further quick development of Ghana and provide a more stable, more meaningful environment for future development.
And so do you think that other countries can also learn from us in terms of how we've done so much?
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do.
And what platform are you going to provide to us?
It's up to Ghana to make a decision to join this negotiation or not. But we would like to find the relationship between the business development and the policy framework and the regulation. So that's the focus of us.
Now, trade analyst and program officer at Third World Network, Sylvester Bagoro, is asking government to deal with risk associated with the agric sector to help improve funding towards trade finance. It's coming after the 2023 World Trade Organization report showed that trade expansion in Ghana is being hampered by access and cost of credit.
The role of countries' international trade, there are two dimensions. We have the international dimension and we also have the domestic dimension. There are policies that national governments need to do in order to make sure the credits are accessible to the SMEs. I mean, no one would do it. It's the government of Ghana, the government of Nigeria, the government of South Africa will do that. So there's a domestic dimension and there's a regional dimension. But since we're in the context of the WTO, we're in the context of WTO Public Forum 2023, there is the international dimension. And that dimension is that the rules must be fair in such a way that countries can actually find space to develop. And so the point about financing development, you need to look at it both at the domestic level and also at the international level.
Let's look at the domestic, because some are saying that this report zoomed down to the domestic situation. I'll come to the global level. And for you, in terms of policy, what do you think has to be done now? Because it's been an age-old challenge. Now it's impacting on trade badly.
You know, we have to, in terms of the getting resources to where the productive sectors, where the resources are needed. And so in terms of, let's say, take agriculture, for instance. We have a lot of our people into agriculture. And so it stands to reason that let us pump a lot of resources into agriculture. That is how you can make a lot of progress. So in the context of climate, imagine that we can come out with some products or some machines like motorized pumps that can, let's say, in terms of they have what you call hydrogen or the new batteries, climate-friendly batteries you can have that can power what I call appropriate technology in agriculture. In that sense, you are responding to the climate, but you're also responding to the structural problem that we have across Africa. So that's very important.
But some are saying that engaging some of these banks, and some have argued that we've had EDIFE, we've had all these institutions where government had come in to try and subsidize funding to these areas, to SMEs. But it appears that we are not getting the results. When you engage the banks too, they argue that these areas are quite risky, those in this agro-processing and all the rest. And that's why they are kind of shying away. It appears that everybody has a case. So how do we deal with this problem where we can make the sector less risky, incentivize all these institutions that are working in this space to improve credit to this space?
You see, when we are talking about trade, there are three dimensions to trade. If one pillar doesn't work, the rest will not work. One, we have what they call the productive capacities. It's very key. If you don't have that productive capacity as a country, it won't work. Secondly, you know, the trade infrastructure. The trade infrastructure, you can actually produce your goods, but of course they are right by saying there are a lot of risk in it. You can actually produce your goods, but how to lift your product from one place to another, if it doesn't, if it's not there, it's not there. And then the third one is about how you harmonize your policies, your tariff, and whether finance policy, technology policy, or trade policy, investment policy. These must actually interact. So these three factors are what determine how you can take advantage of an economic space like the regional space. You know, so that's our trade. Trade, these three pillars: your productive capacity, your trade infrastructure, both hard and soft, and then your policy-wise must be right. If these are not right, if they don't talk to each other, then you have.
Well, reacting to this, West Africa Regional Director for CATS International, Apiakusi Adomako, says Ghana is making great strides and that after, however, government must build a robust manufacturing sector to enhance the production and consumption of locally made products to boost the economy. Speaking earlier on Business Live, Mr. Adomako admonished government to provide affordable funding for trade purposes, especially for SMEs.
The report is not something that is new to Ghanaians here. Even last year, we saw how the city suffered a lot of adversity. Perhaps this year has seen some level of relative stability. And so we do expect that the banks will be able to lend more support for trade finance. And also, you can also see that government is also trying to this policy of import substitution. So somewhere late last year, the Bank of Ghana said that it was going to withdraw foreign support for importation of some products. That also meant that importers of those products do not get the needed forests to import those commodities. For African trade, Ghana is doing very well. We are exporting to our neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and also South Africa, as well as Kenya. I think as a country, it's good that we have enough support to support who want to import goods into the country. But in the long run, we should be able to build a robust manufacturing sector to the extent that we'll be able to produce and consume things we want here than always having to import. All of these things are kind of putting a lot of pressure on the Ghanaian cedi. Beginning of last year, the cedi was somewhere around 5 cedis to $1. And then towards the end, almost 15 cedis to $1. And you saw the impact we have on the economy. And I think that government, this should not be, political mantra, but something that government must be concerned about. How do we ensure that we support local businesses to be able to produce and export to other markets so that we can also have enough foreign trade to support the city?
Moving on, some rural banks have expressed concerns over the slow recovery of loans due to the current economic challenges and the domestic debt restructuring. This, they say, is affecting their operations and may lead to a spike in non-performing loans this year. According to board chairman of Fiaseman Rural Bank, Dr. Anthony Sapon, this will largely affect the performance of these banks in achieving profitability this year. He spoke to Joy Business at the Chartered Institute of Credit Management Ghana Credit Excellence Awards.
Rural banks say they've been grappling with high cost of operations in recent times. Dr. Sapon is worried about the high lending rates.
Well, there are a lot of concerns, knowing very well that with all the happenings, it's almost always difficult to chase for people to pay loans and the like, and we had to put in more. That means that you would have to spend a bit more in following up on people, try to run out on people so as to reduce whatever issues there is, so as to reduce your loss levels. And so, yes, that has been the major challenge for us. Aside that, we all know what has happened in these times where we have the DDEP.
He's, however, optimistic of a positive outlook in the last quarter of this year due to some measures being put in place by some of these rural banks.
In terms of the advances, it is not easy, but a lot of effort has gone in there because we have set up, we've had issues where we had more loans, a lot of loans outstanding and looked like going bad. And so we had to also set up a recovery team where a lot of efforts has been put in, and we are seeing better results from that.
In all of this, rural banks have been entreated to improve their credit management so as to avoid fall in their profitability. For Joy Business, James Ishen.
Now, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association is calling for a collaboration with the government to deliver affordable housing to the Ghanaian populace. According to the president of the association, Patrick Ebubonfo, this collaboration is necessary to ensure that all parties benefit equally while addressing the housing deficit in the country. He was speaking at a media launch of the 35th anniversary celebration of the association.
The Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, in partnership with Oak Firm Limited, has launched the 35th anniversary and award ceremony of the association. The anniversary celebration is themed 35 years through stakeholder collaboration. According to the president of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Patrick Ebubonfo, delivering affordable affordable housing to Ghanaians need collaboration from all stakeholders.
Affordability is subjective. Statistics have shown that even if the cost of houses are reduced to 1,000 Ghana cedis, there will still be about 60% of the consuming public that will not be able to acquire it. That's the statistics. We know that 35% at least will be able to afford it with some form of government assistance by way of discounts here and there, and so on and so forth. So this is the reality. So affordability is subjective. We will do our best, and we have always done, to deliver on affordable housing. With the help of tax breaks here and there, I'm sure we can do even better. I highlighted this in my recent speech at the launch of the Kwasi project. And these are areas where we can easily collaborate with government to deliver on affordable housing. Because to be fair, if I'm building a house that will cost 100,000 Ghana cedis, and a fellow developer has built the same thing and is selling it at 500,000 Ghana cedis, and we all go and pay corporate tax of 25%, it's a disincentive to me to build affordable housing. So these are areas we're thinking we can collaborate with government, and we can be encouraged to do more with our pricing, and then we can do better.
Director at Oak Firm Limited, Doris Adebasuku, reiterated Grader's commitment towards reducing the housing deficit in the country.
For 35 years, Grader has been in the forefront of real estate development in Ghana, which not only contributed significantly to bridging the country's housing deficit gap, but to also attract investment and foreign exchange into the country. As Grader takes pride in the successes achieved as a result of these 35 years, it becomes very imperative that recognition and prominence is given to the sector. Being mindful of these achievements, the association has resolved to celebrate the 35 years and to award deserving individuals and organizations, hence the launch of the two events today.
The association, as part of activities to mark its 35th anniversary, will hold a symposium, a corporate walk, and also construct a free unit classroom block donation in Joaso. Jesse Ayo Magbakpo's report.
Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Samuel Abujinapo is charging mining firms to make efforts in engaging local communities to understand their operations. According to him, this will enhance security in the mines as well as support cooperation between companies and indigenes. The minister gave the charge in a speech to launch the Mining for Development Forum organized by the Ghana Chamber of Mines in Accra. Here's more.
Concerns of security at various mining sites in the country has become a major challenge for some companies as a result of illegal invasions on their operations. These have been the center of discussion for this year's Mining for Development Forum organized by the Chamber of Mines Ghana. The Minister for Land and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, charged all affected companies to take critical steps in engaging the local communities in ensuring security at the sites,
which is putting in place sustainable measures, carrying the community with you. Absolutely important. Anybody who suggests that just by deploying law enforcement agencies and by using brute enforcement and by using brute force will resolve issues of insecurity of large-scale mining operations or conglomerate extractive industry anywhere in the world. You have just not taken your history lessons right, because it will not work. The enforcement is absolutely important. The sustainable measures to carry the community with you in and by itself will not be sufficient, because recalcitrant people will definitely be greedy and they will move on and move on. So the enforcement is key. Deployment of police and all the various operation halts and measures we put in place is important. But equally important is the other aspect of carrying the country, first of all, and carrying the community with you.
Chief Executive of the Chamber of Mines Ghana, Suleiman Ukoni, reiterated the contribution of the sector to the economy and and the need to keep it safe.
In the year I reviewed, the year 2022, 26% of mineral revenue was paid to the states by way of dividends, taxes, levies, and duties. This is really, really significant. Overall, the producing member companies' expenditure that accrued to local entities was $4.99 billion in the year 2022. We are talking about companies who do business with the mining industry. The idea is to make sure that we do business with our own so that the value of mining stays within the country. Ladies and gentlemen, you would concur that the mining sector's activities impact practically every facet of our economy and must therefore be safeguarded from the activities of criminals, illegal miners, and other miscreants.
Ghana continues to lead the continent as the largest producer of gold.
On that note, we end business tonight. But you can read more business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broom. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.